Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today
Yeah.
into a really interesting guide. It's all about taking a Python web app, specifically using Flask, from basically nothing to live online,
Yeah.
using Google Cloud Run.
That's right. And the focus here is really on a modern kind of streamlined path. It sidesteps a lot of the old headaches, setting up servers manually.
Yeah.
This is more about containers and serverless.
Right, making it faster. So our mission really is to pull out the key steps, the tools from this guide. We want to see exactly what it takes to get a simple Hello World Flask app up and running, accessible to anyone. The guide uses this nice analogy like an all-star team of tools. First, Python calls it the universal language, our foundation.
Yep, Python's the base. And then you've got Flask building on that. It's a micro framework, and that's key. It's intentionally simple, gives you the basics for a web app, but doesn't dictate everything. You add what you need.
Okay, then comes Docker. The guide calls it a magic shipping container.
Hey, yeah, that's a good way to put it. It bundles your code, your Python version, all the libraries, everything into one neat package.
And that tackles the classic, well, it worked on my machine problem.
Exactly. Because that container runs the same way everywhere, your laptop, the cloud. It's way lighter than a full VM, too.
Good point. And the final piece, Google Cloud Run, the global delivery service, described as serverless. You don't manage servers.
Right. You give it the container, Google runs it, handles scaling up, scaling down, even scaling to zero.
Scale to zero. That sounds important for costs.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when starting out. If no one's hitting your app, you often pay nothing. This whole combo containers plus serverless like Cloud Run, it's really efficient.
Yeah.
A big step up from managing VMs or wrestling with Kubernetes for something simple.
Makes sense. Okay, let's look at the set of steps in the guide. First, you need a Google Cloud account, create a project. Pretty standard stuff. It mentions the free trial, and free tiers are quite generous for these services. Cloud Run, Cloud Build.
Yeah, that lowers the barrier to entry significantly. You'll also need the command line tool, ggcloud.
The command center, right.
Yeah.
You install that, run gcloud in it to link it to your project.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a crucial bit, enabling the right APIs, like flipping the power switches. You need run.googlebeeps.com, cloudbuild.googlebeeps.com, and artifactregistry.googleetus.com.
Right, and it's worth understanding why those three. When you deploy from source later, Cloud Build actually builds your container image.
Okay.
Artifact Registry stores that image,
Got it.
and Cloud Run pulls the image from the registry to actually run your service. They all work together.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a pipeline. So moving to the actual app, the Flask part. You set up your local workspace, create a folder, use a virtual environment, which is best practice.
Always. Keeps dependencies clean.
Yeah.
Then you just pip install Flask.
Yeah, write the app.py. Super simple for hello world. Import Flask, create the app object.
And define a route. That at app.route decorator tells Flask what function handles requests to the main page.
Which just returns a simple HTML string, like hello world.p.
Yep. And then capture your dependencies. Pip freeze requirements.txt. Your ingredient list.
You can test it locally. Flask app run. See it working in your browser.
But that little Flask development server, it's great for testing, but it's not for production, not robust enough.
Right, so the guide says you need to upgrade your engine, basically.
Yeah.
Introduce Genicorn.
Exactly. Genicorn is a proper, production-ready WSGI server, handles real traffic reliably.
So pip install Genicorn, add it to requirements.txt. Now we package it all up using that Docker container we talked about, the magic box.
Which needs a blueprint, the Docker file.
Right. This file has instructions from specify the base Python image.
Copy Y to get your files in. RU and pip install to install dependencies from requirements.txt.
And expose the port. But the really critical one seems to be the CMD instruction.
Absolutely. That's what tells the container how to start your app when Cloud Run launches it. And Cloud Run expects your app to listen on a specific port, usually 8080.
So the CMD line needs to run Genicorn and bind it correctly.
Precisely. Something like CMD Gunicorn bind 0.0.8088 app.app. That 0.0 tells Gunicorn to listen on all available network interfaces inside the container on port 8080. That fulfills the Cloud Run contract.
Okay, code's ready, Docker file's written. Now for launch day. And the guide says it's just one command.
Pretty much. Dig cloud run deploy my first app source.region a central one allow unauthenticated.
Wow. Okay, what's happening there? That source flag.
That tells dcloud, hey, look in the current directory for the code and Docker file, zip it up and send it to the cloud.
And allow unauthenticated just makes it public.
Yep, so anyone can visit the URL. Behind the scenes, that triggers the whole flow. Upload, cloud builds the image, pushes it to artifact registry, Cloud Run pulls it, and deploys.
And then, boom, you get a URL.
You get a URL, visit it, and you should see your hello world served live from Google.
Amazing. What about after launch? Like maintenance?
The guide touches on that. You can check logs easily in the Google Cloud Console, see incoming requests, any errors from your app.
And updates. If I change the hello world message.
Simple. Change your app.py file, then run the exact same gcloud run deploy command again.
Seriously?
Yeah. Cloud Run handles creating a new version, rolling it out smoothly, zero downtime. It's very slick.
And cleaning up. If I'm done experimenting.
Also important, you can delete the specific Cloud Run service or even just delete the entire Google Cloud project to stop any potential charges.
Keeps things tidy.
Definitely.
So recapping this deep dive, we went from an empty folder to a live global web app using Python, Flask, Docker, and Cloud Run, following the steps in this guide.
It really highlights how tools like containers and serverless platforms have, well, democratized deployment in a way.
Yeah.
It's much more accessible now.
Right. Which leads to a final thought, pulling from the material. If getting a simple hello world out to the world can be this streamlined with, the magic container and the global delivery service, what else could you build and deploy once you grasp these concepts? What ideas could you bring online? Something to think about.